done.
Josh, how awful are like baby cries? Top like 3 annoying sound in the world.
It might be top 1.
Yeah,
worse?
I said that. You gotta nix out like warfare and shit like that. You know, guns, bombs.
Is that worse though?
Non-violent noises.
Non-violent noises by far the worst. Like, there's nothing worse than this. I'd rather listen to like fingernails on chalk, styrofoam rubbing each other. What are the typical noises that you hear? Like a lawnmower at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. All of these things are better than a baby crying.
Yeah. Fingernails on chalk might be tough. But outside of that...
I hate fingernails on chalks.
Oh, also an awful one? Bad brakes. Like when someone's car has bad brakes, that noise kills me.
Yeah, my car has that. Only in the beginning, though. Only in the beginning. If it's really cold...
Yeah.
And you move your car, like the first brake, it's like very loud, and then after that, it's fine. It's just like, I guess some ice builds up in between the brake pad and...
Yeah, I have the same issue. Nice. All right. I guess we shall start. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Hoops Corner. I'm your host, Peter Tran, and on the line, just chilling in the doghouse. Josh Cohen, how you doing?
Recovering from yesterday, so, doing all right. Can't complain. Doing as well as my Timberwolves.
But not your Mavericks.
No, definitely not, as good as the Mavericks, obviously. But yeah, I mean, at least the Mavericks are better than the Rockets, right, Raj?
I don't know if they are.
Let me have my intro. Let me breathe.
Banging that paint.
Our residential medical expert. Raj, can you diagnose what's wrong with Josh today? Is it just a case of the softness after a game night?
You know what? I'm gonna take it easy on Josh, because if I take it easy on him, maybe he'll take it easy on me for this podcast.
Absolutely not. Raj, you and I both tried to roast Karl Anthony Towns last week, and we were just made a fool. This guy hit a game winner and game-clinching free throws in 2 separate games, obviously, in his first 2 games back. And I gotta admit, he's like fitting in pretty seamlessly right now. In a selfish manner, I wish it was worse. I wish that like Karl Anthony Towns was like killing all the vibes and like everyone was just doing awfully around him. But having a good point guard like Mike Conley tends to help a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. Who knew? Who knew that all he needed was a good floor general? I guess. Well, literally everyone who watched the Timberwolves all year has said it until the trade deadline, so that's who knew. Josh, take your victory lap, man. Just praises to Karl Anthony Towns, apparently the best center ever. According to him, the best shooter ever. Whatever.
I mean, the best big man shooter ever is a bit far. He said that in a podcast recently, too. It's like, you gotta do it in the playoffs first before you are ahead of Dirk Nowitzki, So relax on that. 3-point shooting... Maybe, because the numbers are there.
Only because of volume, man. No, he's not better than Dirk as a 3-point shooter. Or Rasheed Wallace. Give me Sheed.
Okay, no, relax.
Has Karl Anthony Towns ever shot left-handed in a game from 3?
I think maybe so. We should bring up Matt Bonner in this conversation then. The Red Rocket.
Now we're talking. Imagine that 3-point contest.
No, but I mean, over the course of the 2 games, like, Towns obviously didn't play that well against the Warriors, but he hit 2 of the biggest, obviously the biggest shot of the game, but he had another 3 down the stretch as well. And the biggest thing I noticed with the Timberwolves is their rotation is freaking massive. Like, they have a lot of swing guys on this team. Like, Prince didn't even play last game, and they were still able to beat the Kings without Towns. And I think that game sort of showed Sacramento's shortcomings. In that when they have to play a full court game and they have to finish oversized and to slow down and the other team's getting a lot of rebounds, there's not a lot they can do. So in terms of the Timberwolves, though, like they're catching fire at the right time. They're beating a lot of these good teams along the way. And Kyle Anderson has been a godsend for them.
Show some respect, Raj. Don't scoff at Kyle Anderson. What the hell?
I love how Josh picks up on a good role player and gives him probably some rightful respect. He was a good player on Memphis. I think probably underrated there, and but he has no love for players like Jay Crowder. So that's why I scoff not at Kyle Anderson, but at recognizing role players that help teams win. Obviously, Kyle Anderson had a big load to take for the Minnesota Timberwolves when Cat went down. But I think overall, like me, you, I think a lot of even Minnesota Timberwolves fans were impressed how quickly Cat seamlessly transitioned. He had a big few buckets against when they were playing the Lakers, I believe. Was it the Lakers?
The Warriors.
The Warriors.
And the Kings.
Yeah, when Kyle Anderson got that steal. And again, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Josh, I completely was off on that one. But you know what? Maybe we'll meet halfway in between. Like, Minnesota may end up making those play-in games, and Cat coming back was a good thing, but they were never going to be the 1 seed. How about that?
Well, it's tough when you're missing your second or potentially first best player for basically the entire season, you know?
Whoa. You're not telling me Cat's better than Ant at this point. This is Ant's team. Let's calm down.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves with the Anthony Edwards love, even this year. Like, the media loves this guy, and he's played in almost every game this year, but they're treating him like he's a superstar. Right? He's not a superstar yet. Let's give him some time, you know? Maybe in this playoffs is when he finally branches out and becomes that level of player. And, as you said, Mike Conley's become the connector on this team. He's the guy that's, running all these plays and making sure that everything fits. And these guys are getting the ball in spots that, they can actually do something with it. Whereas with Russell, it's more random. They don't know when they're getting the ball. Like, the biggest, factor that I've noticed with, Minnesota improving the last few games, especially, is Naz Reid. When he comes off the bench, he's playing with the big guys. And earlier in the year, that did not work at all. And they couldn't play him with Towns or Gobert, and thus they really couldn't play him. But now that they have two connectors, not only Conley, but Jordan McLaughlin's back as well. And he's like pure point guard off the bench who doesn't want to shoot. So you get those guys just trying to set up Naz Reid and trying to set up Gobert. That's, a name that we haven't brought up yet. Like, Gobert's been phenomenal the last 20 to 30 games. He's actually looked like himself. So even though we want to kill the trade, obviously, which is totally fine, he has been good the last 20 to 30 games, and he has looked like himself recently.
Raj, you're not feeling Rudy Gobert these days, huh?
Well, again, Josh finished his point. So, again, I think Rudy Gobert was a questionable addition to the Timberwolves in terms of fit. Like, he cost your team the future. You had to give up a lot of young players, and he doesn't even play usually in crunch time. So
wait, what?
I think
yes, he does.
He doesn't play.
He always plays in crunch
time. He doesn't play all the time in crunch time, depending on if
does.
the other team's playing small.
Come on, man.
No,
play small with who?
No, it's not the playoffs yet. It's not the playoffs yet.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is going to play until the playoffs.
And I also think if you look at how teams want to play, a lot of teams end up playing small. And if you have Gobert and Cat, you're just asking for problems for other teams to attack those two bigs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. But also, the play-in talk, Minnesota's in 6th right now. And I know there's not many games that are separating the teams and everything, but they've won, 4 in a row now? And they have a lot of games coming up against, teams in that range. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Like, there's a massive game tonight, obviously, with the Pelicans and the Warriors. Warriors are in 7th. Pelicans are in 8th. And there's a half game between those teams. Golden State's tied with Minnesota right now after losing to them. So that was a very consequential turnover by Draymond Green leading to that Cat 3. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next couple games.
Yo, relax. Games in March don't matter to Draymond Green, okay?
Yeah, they will when he doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, you have to make the playoffs before they start. You can start making statements like that.
Nah, Draymond Green doesn't matter. He's above it all, remember?
I just want to point out as well, with Memphis now in second place, 2.5 games ahead of the Kings, you guys should be cheering for Minnesota right now Because the more they win, the better the chance we get Golden State and Memphis in the first round. And that's what we want.
Honestly, I think it's too early to look at predictions. Obviously, there's 6-7 games left. I think the win total, we talked about this last podcast, the win total that teams will need to get to is 41 games. Like, if you have a 500 record, you have a chance to be in the play-in tournament. Under 41 wins won't get you there, and I think there's just so much maneuvering that can happen in the next couple of games. It might come down to tie breaks, a game, the last game of the season. So, yeah, it would be fun to watch Memphis, Golden State, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I do think the Jazz falling off in this race for the play-in tournament has definitely taken some of the excitement out of it. Now there's obviously the Mavs who are looking in, and I know we're going to talk about them, but I would want to see the Mavs. I think the one team that I really wouldn't want to see is I wouldn't want to see the Pelicans without Zion, to be honest. I think that's who I'm looking for more than the matchups. I just want to see the Mavs in the playoffs with Kyrie and Luka and see them implode.
Would you rather watch the Memphis Grizzlies go against the Warriors, which would be hilarious because of Dillon Brooks and Draymond Green, or would you want to watch the Memphis Grizzlies and the LA Lakers due to Dillon Brooks again versus apparently celebrities?
Shannon Sharp.
Bloggers, he calls them. Yeah, Shannon Sharp the blogger, or Draymond Green the podcaster versus Dillon Brooks. I mean, both are entertaining as hell, so as long as we get one of those matchups, I don't really care.
Yeah, again, I think we'll save the matchups for next podcast when the picture is more clear. But I do want to talk about the Mavericks. Do we want to see the Mavericks or the Pelicans? Because it seems like OKC is just that young team. They deserve to at least play in the play-in tournament to get that experience under their belt. It would be a travesty if they don't make it. I think it comes down to, do you want to see the Mavs with Luka and Kyrie make it, probably not make a big impact, or would you want to see the Pelicans likely without Zion?
I think it's a pretty easy choice between the Mavericks and anybody else at this point if there's no Zion. Like, I'd rather see Luka and Kyrie go against Denver, because at least it would be an interesting series. It'd be fun to watch. It might be like a 4-0 series or a 4-1 series, but it would still be fun. Whereas teams like Oklahoma City, I don't think they would have any chance against Denver. The Pelicans, I'm not saying they would have a chance, but they would make it tough depending on who's healthy. The Pelicans actually have a pretty solid defense, and Brandon Ingram is tough in the playoffs. That's a matchup problem.
Against the Nuggets?
I think the games would be close. I think they'd be closer than they would be with Oklahoma City for sure.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. OKC's feisty.
Yeah, and I think OKC's just, they have that they're the underdog mentality. They're wild cards. I really would love to see OKC in the playoffs. I don't think they would end up beating any team, but because they play hard every possession, I think they may end up getting swept, but it would be close games. I don't expect any big blowouts. I expect Shea to put on a performance. It would be, I think, his first time in the playoffs, because I don't think he played with the Clippers in the playoffs. So
he did.
He made the playoffs with
one series?
CP3 and Schroeder when they lost to the Rockets.
He also made it with the Clippers in his rookie year.
Yeah, it sounds right.
With the Clippers?
Yeah. It was like him and it was like that Lou Will and Pat Bev team. Then they got bounced
he hasn't
in the
made
first
the
round, but yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't made it to the playoffs as the focal point.
There you go. Yeah. That is correct. I mean, I'll take Shea. I'd rather watch Shea than the Pelicans. Also, partially just because I'm tired of this Pelicans narrative of, them being a godsend. They could have been the best team in the league and all that kind of crap. Nah, man. Nah, I'm good. Hard pass. That's it.
I mean,
I'm just tired of hearing it. Oh, everything revolves around Zion, how he's hurt. We get it. You built your team around an injured player. The whole expectation was around an injured player. And he's injured all the time. Whoop-de-doo! Come on, man.
Yeah, they might have to look at their roster at some point and decide between Zion and Ingram because both guys are injured for the majority of the seasons the last couple of years. Even Ingram has had like toe injuries and leg injuries and knee injuries, so you can't have two guys like that are your stars that play 20 to 30 games in a season.
You can. Just ask the Clippers.
Yeah, that team might not make the playoffs either.
Yeah, but going back to the Pelicans, I think, again, not to poke the bear here, but we may talk about Zion like we're talking about Ben Simmons. Obviously for completely different reasons, but I'm saying what if? Like, we might look at Zion's career and be like, what if?
That's
the same way now I think
That's not the comparison, though. Like, Ben Simmons, mentally just checked out. I don't think Zion mentally is ever going to check out from his play style. It's more so you got to compare him to somebody like Grant Hill, like what could have been,
Greg
yeah, but I
Oden
think you
type
can
of-
make the same. Yeah, Brendan Roy. Sorry. Yeah. But I really think you do have to ask the question, like with Ben Simmons, like what if he had a bit more mental fortitude? What if he was placed in an environment where he didn't have to be a star and he's just able to play? But
what are we doing?
the comparison for Ben Simmons' career trajectory, I have two guys in mind. To a lesser extent, Larry Sanders. Not like as a good comparison, but the better one, Andrew Bynum. Never really loved the game. Somehow fell into it. Ben Simmons never loved the game from like LSU from what it looks like, man. That dude is just chilling the whole time. Apparently he's still like going out to partying and shit in LA, which means that he's not even in Brooklyn with his team. This dude's just straight chilling right now. Bynum did the exact same thing after LA. Like basically after he had the Lakers organization like holding him down, as soon as he got to Indiana, to Philly, man, this guy was just reckless with his body, with his rehab. He was just chilling. He was enjoying being a rich guy. That's exactly what Ben Simmons is doing too. He's just enjoying the fame.
so do you think it's a Philly problem then? Because both those guys went to Philly.
Some guys just don't love it, man. You know what I mean? Some guys are just happy being rich. Like, more power to them, I guess.
Yeah, but again, I still wonder the same. I still think that we're gonna ask this question of Zion's career if he doesn't play at least 100 games in the next 2 seasons combined. There's going to be questions about what if with Zion, and there's only so much. Oh, we're waiting for him to get healthy. We're waiting him to make changes to his body composition, his playing style, until you realize that this player may never actually reach those goals or those what-if possibilities. But I do agree with Josh. I think the Pelicans are in a position where they have a lot of young players. They have a lot of good young wing players, which are a commodity in this league. They have Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, obviously CJ McCollum. Like, they're going to have to make some decisions on where their team goes and what are the expectations if Zion and Brandon Ingram aren't on the court. Plain and simple.
So Zion has been in the NBA for 4 years, right? This is his 4th year. Let's go with over under 100 games that played in the regular season so far. What do you guys think?
Under. Well, he's probably just over, but I'm going to say under.
Yeah, I'll take the over then.
114.
There you go.
Yeah. I was going to say like 120.
24 games in his rookie year, 61 his second year, which is when like everyone really fell in love with Zion. Obviously no play last year because he sat out, and then 29 games so far this year.
He has to play 100 games in the next 2 years.
At this rate, it'll be 3 years. You know what I mean? It's rough, man.
It's sad too because when he plays, like I think they were first in the West, right? Or second in the West.
They were like second or third, but they were definitely top 3.
But they were going up though.
They were, and just like Zion, and then he went up too far.
And that was
I have no
without
idea
Ingram
if that's
too.
what happened with his injury.
Like they have the roster going into next year, right? Like most of these guys are, under contract. They have to figure out the center position. I think that's their biggest weakness besides health, obviously. They got to figure out what to do with Jonas because I sort of like them together in certain matchups, but overall, you want to get a guy that I like a Miles Turner, where a guy that can defend the rim in that lineup, and then you really have something because you'll have a top 5 defense with Zion and Ingram, and that's pretty good offensively, obviously. So, but again, they have to stay healthy, so they got to figure something out. What they should do is just offer the Phoenix training staff whatever amount of money that they want. The guys that kept Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire healthy over the course of those years, get those guys in there.
That stuff is gone, man. Like that was almost 20 years ago.
Well, rehire them. Give them the bag.
On. It's been 15 to 20 years. This guy's talking about Steve Nash in his prime. Come on, man.
If you can keep those guys healthy, you can keep Zion and Ingram healthy.
Dude, if you can find me NBA staffers that were around in 2007, I will be impressed. There's not that many
kids then.
Around. Hire their kids.
Hire their kids.
Come on, man. Yeah, I don't know. The Zion situation is kind of sad. That's it. That's all I got. I don't know what to do with it. What do? You can't really do anything else. I don't think that Ingram and Zion can fit together long term either. Obviously, they're good now, but over time they're going to need to. I mean, we've already said it. Decide one way or the other which way to go. Sad stuff, man. Maybe they should just rely on Jackson Hayes to develop along with Zion.
Oof.
Yeah. Not the best idea.
No.
Maybe Jonas can just become a top 5 shooter again in the league.
Yeah, that was a nice week stretch for him.
Games. Yeah, I know.
Just like it was.
He probably just practiced so many threes.
It's like corner threes all day, just like Utah Watanabe this year. Smart guys, man. Make a living somewhere. I mean, I guess we could sort of move on to the Dallas Mavericks now. They've absolutely pitifully lost a back-to-back series against the Charlotte Hornets this past weekend. And I mean pitifully because one was at home in Dallas.
The fact that they needed these 2 games, and obviously Charlotte's playing for some pride, but they weren't, especially in the second game, they were knocking on the door. They made it somewhat close, but they really can't defend. And also this experiment with Kyrie and Luka is obviously not going so well. They basically gave up their best defender. And Luka doesn't look like he's having fun. And I think it's a little more to do with something in his personal life than just the Mavericks. But again, this team is not the threat that they were last year, a team that knocked out the number 1 seed in the Phoenix Suns. This team is basically swimming without any sign of seeing any shore, and they're probably going to drown some point in the season. And obviously when that happens, I wouldn't want to be with Kyrie because he's obviously going to implode and bring down a few other players with him.
I think they might have already drowned, honestly, and losing those 2 games. I think they're 2 games behind the Thunder because of the tiebreaker. So they're going to have to rely on either the Thunder or the teams above them to lose a lot of games, and you have no faith in the Mavericks actually winning games they're supposed to at this point. I mean, the Mavericks are obviously praying tomorrow that Embiid and Harden sit out so they can actually have a chance to win that game. But even if Harden and Embiid sit out, they might still lose because Philly put up a good.
They're gonna lose.
I would not be surprised, honestly. And as awful as it is to say, it might be better for them in the future because if they actually get a top 10 pick, maybe you can actually turn that into something, or maybe it turns into Victor. You never know. But that's a discussion for another day. In terms of this roster itself, in watching some of the Charlotte games, the biggest difference to me is the Dallas team doesn't really have a lot of athleticism. Right? You watch Charlotte, and you have guys like JT Thor and Bryce McGowan's guys who, nobody's ever heard of. And they're just jumping over everybody, getting rebounds. They're all over the floor. They're stunning to Luka, making him make decisions he's not used to, which might be a strategy that, teams actually employ in the playoffs if they actually are able to make it, which they're probably not going to at this point. But they were just super quick and all over the floor. DSJ obviously had the 2 daggers in both games, which was hilarious in itself. But yeah, like Dallas just doesn't have the talent and the athleticism on the wing, especially. But obviously, like, they're still starting Dwight Powell after like 5 seasons. So, like, what are we even doing here? All they had to do was get a guy like a Mitchell Robinson type. You know, a guy that can defend the basket a little bit, get a bunch of rebounds.
They got JaVale.
Oh, God. Man, and he's under contract next year, too. That's the worst part.
Mid-level exception, JaVale McGee, man. The guy can barely get on the floor with a mid-level.
Yeah.
My God. Like, he gets less minutes than Christian Wood, and Jason Kidd hates Christian Wood. That's how sad this is now. I get it. The Mavs are stupid. They took a giant gamble on Kyrie. They traded away 2 of their best wing defenders in Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. They don't have a good front court. I mean, we already went through it. They're relying on Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber and 2 guys that don't leave the bench because Jason Kidd hates them. There's not really much hope, right? Luka's in his, 4th year? 5th year? Somewhere around there? 5th year? And there's a high likelihood that we just don't see him in the playoffs again. This year. Sorry, not again, but just this year. And I'm fine with it. They deserve it. I don't want to reward any bad gambles. You know, they knew what was going to happen with this trade. They knew the gamble they were taking. Even before the trade, to be honest, because they sort of just let Jalen Brunson walk out the door without getting anything in return for him last summer. It just seems like a very poorly managed situation in Dallas. And on top of it all, I just don't like the way they play with Luka. Like, personally, I hated it when Harden did the same thing, when it was just one dude who handles the rock 70% of the game, and then he'll dish it out for an open 3 or a contested corner 3. That's not the kind of basketball I want to watch. I think Luka can do more than that. I think that the team can do more than that if they were given the opportunity to, which there's a high likelihood that there will be a coaching change this summer. And that's it. I'm good on this Mavericks team. I don't want to see them in the playoffs. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to see Kyrie getting fans kicked out of the stadium, out of the arena, because they allegedly talk shit to him. I don't want to hear about Luka's personal issues off the court. I'm good, man. I'm done. I'm done with this dramatic season for the Mavs. Just push them out of the way, Josh. Raj, just sweep them out. Sweep them away like every other Texas team this year.
Hey, actually, if you look at it for the long-term longevity of the Mavericks, it may be better for them not to make the playoffs. Because then that Kyrie experiment completely failed. They're less likely to re-sign him. That gives them a lot more cap freedom to make some roster movements to put a better surrounding cast around Luka. I think earlier they tried to surround him with some proven veterans, players that will obviously work in their system, and they've had some success with Luka. Let's not discount the first 4 years where he's had some really good series against the Clippers. He beat the number 1 seed in the Phoenix Suns. Clearly Luka can ball, and clearly they want to make him the cornerstone of the franchise for the next 10 years. So I actually think Mark Cuban, when he's looking at this schedule, obviously they want to win. They do probably want to make the playoffs just for a pride point of view, but you kind of have to wonder, if they don't, it's very easy to be like, okay, Kyrie, we're not giving you the bag. That puts a lot of pressure on Nico Harrison, who's the GM of the Mavs, to make some from free agent acquisitions, reorganize the roster, and I do think Jason Kidd will probably get the axe. Just kind of given how he really hasn't, he's had some success, but I think they've plateaued with him, and they'll probably have to bring in another coach and kind of give it another shot. But this team is going nowhere. And just imagine if they had Kyrie Irving on the books for the next 4 years. How can you afford another good level player or a few other players to round out your roster? And which player is going to play well with such ball-heavy, dominant players in Kyrie and Luka?
I mean, if they don't make the playoffs this year, it is definitely not a good thing for them because then they might be in rough waters with Luka, right? Like you have to win to make him happy, and that's the most important thing for their organization. So if they don't end up making the playoffs this year, especially, it's not a good look. And the cap space talk, it doesn't work because you have to still be able to trade at least one more guy to open up a max slot. And if you don't have the max slot, then you might bring in 2 average-ish players, and you just traded that away, right? So you're basically back to where you were pre-Kyrie trade. So they're in a very rough spot that they put themselves in, obviously, and we might be getting close, or maybe a year or two away from Luka becoming one of the next guys that asks out.
Maybe, but I don't know if it's much better to make the playoffs limping and then just get beat down by the Nuggets if they do make the playoffs, or somehow if they make the 7th seed, get beat down by the Grizzlies. And you're not going to look at them and be like, wow, Luka, you happy with that? Like, I don't think so. And then he's going to look at the roster and be like, shoot, now we're going to...
No, he's not going to be happy with not making the playoffs. That's 10 times worse.
I don't know about that.
Oh, 100%. He's like been noted as like one of the most competitive guys that's been in the NBA in the last.
He looks pretty miserable now, though. Like he doesn't look like he's enjoying being on the court right now. And I don't know if it's necessarily about winning.
He's going to be even more miserable if he doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess time will tell.
Yeah, we're trying to get in the guy's head right now. It's like I don't think we're in any position to be doing that. It's just obvious that he's not having fun. Nobody on that team is having fun. Literally, not a single person. So, let's just move on. I want to ask you guys something a little bit funner, a little bit lighter. This weird MVP situation where Nikola Jokic goes against Giannis Antetokounmpo on Saturday night in Denver. Milwaukee's on the tail end of a back-to-back, so let's make sure that that's noted. And, after the first quarter, Denver pulls ahead. Jokic obviously has an incredible game. They get the W. Giannis has a good game as well, but Denver had their number from the second quarter onwards. And then on Monday night, we were all waiting for this since 2 months ago, I think is when Denver went to Philly. But that Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic matchup was going to happen. Embiid's playing all these games, says after the Golden State game that he played extra hard against Golden State because Draymond said on his podcast that Jokic is the hardest player for him to guard. And Embiid goes, screw you, Draymond. Apparently a lot of players are saying that. I'm the hardest player to guard. And then he's out. He's sitting. He's got to make sure that he's okay, that his injuries are well taken care of. I mean, it was a very disappointing turn of events. James Harden didn't play either, which I'm sure affected Embiid's decision, or the team's decision to sit Embiid. All that to say, does it really affect the MVP race that Embiid didn't play in this game, Raj? Do we think that Embiid's just doing the right thing and sort of just focusing on the playoffs here? Because we know that he's been campaigning for MVP, even if he says he hasn't.
Yeah, I think... I don't think you can just isolate the decision of him not playing for rest in a vacuum like that. I think you have to look at what Embiid has said in the past, how he thinks he's deserved to be MVP. He thinks he's done everything he could to be MVP. He feels like he doesn't get enough love or recognition for what he's done. And those statements can be true. But saying that and then not playing in a game... And then in the future, if he does bring this up, I think you're just contradicting yourself. Jokic, again, is on one of the top teams in the West, and he plays a lot of games. And he's rarely taking nights off. And I again, if you look at who wins MVP this year, and if it's not Embiid, he can't come around and say he didn't get love. He cannot be bitter. I think you lose that credibility, and you don't have a voice to be mad. Obviously, you can feel like you want to win, but hey, you didn't do everything in your power to win MVP. So, but overall, for the overall benefit of the 76ers, if Harden's not going to play, and again, I don't think Philadelphia was on back-to-backs that night either. So, I think if Harden wasn't going to play, you're probably looking at a tougher matchup. You're missing one of your star players. It's better to rest both your star players in the same game and then have both of them available for the next, just in terms of continuity, having a chance to win. And I think Josh has moved to Cancun here. And again, I know we talked 2 weeks ago to how the Philadelphia 76ers have these expectations to win the whole, at least make the NBA Finals. So, hey, this is a move that is probably for that direction, but can't argue Embiid now. Like, you missed the game. I think if this was game 5 of the playoffs, you'd be playing, right? So it wasn't an injury that kept him out. It was just a decision that he'd made for the best of the 76ers and for the team, not individual awards.
The whole scenario just confuses me because they weren't on a back-to-back, and I understand load managing if there's a bunch of games on the road, or if the training staff looks at it like, okay, these guys have played this many games and this many nights, but then why not just sit him out against Golden State or sit him out on Wednesday against the Mavericks? Because you effectively just ended his MVP campaign after that game. Because everyone, was looking forward to it, obviously, and this was the one thing that could have maybe pushed him ahead of Jokic if he wasn't there already. And I just wonder, how they brought this up in a conversation to him, who had the chat with him, because you would think that Embiid, a guy who's been campaigning for the MVP award for the last couple of years, would say, absolutely not, you are not doing this, I am playing regardless. But I'm just confused as to what was, the tipping point for them being able to convince him to take this game off. In terms of the overall picture of potentially winning the championship, was it a good move? Yeah, it's probably a good move to rest a guy who's been injured for most of his career at certain points later in the season, so he's ready for the playoffs. But choosing this specific game, very odd choice.
Yeah, just another element, we don't necessarily know that it was strictly the 76ers organization's idea. It could have been partly Embiid's. He could have looked at this matchup and been like, oh, Harden's not going to play. I don't like our chances, and I don't want to hear the narrative that because Jokic and the Nuggets beat the 76ers without me and Harden, with one of our star players not playing, that I'm going to lose this MVP trophy. And so he might have been like, you know what, I'd rather just not play and not have this discussion come up and understand that the vote's going to go how it is and it's not going to come down to this one game. Because I know we all look at this game and circle it on our calendars, and two big men who are dominant, two of the best big men in their positions, obviously with Giannis as well. And we want to see these marquee matchups, and especially one from the Eastern Conference and one from the West. We don't see it often, but I don't know if it was Embiid's decision. I don't know if it was the 76ers. I don't know if it was training staff, if it was something else at play. But Embiid, you can't complain here. You're probably going to play tonight against Dallas or tomorrow night against Dallas. So it's a bit of a disappointment, but it is what it is.
Yo, Josh, you're just like a little floating head now that you've blurred your background. It's so absurd.
Yeah, go back to the beach, Josh. Man,
yeah, go to the beach.
3-2-1 Cancun.
Yeah. Go join the Houston Rockets and San Antonio Spurs in Cancun. Not the Charlotte Hornets, though, because they're still kicking Maverick ass around here. Only some teams are in Cancun, apparently. Josh, hit us with some stats corner while you're at it.
So I got a couple things this week for you guys, as usual. I think this week is going to be really interesting, though. So my first question is the best question. Mikal Bridges has scored 40-plus points in a game twice since arriving in Brooklyn. He is the fifth player over the last 20 seasons to record multiple 40-point games with a team he joined mid-season. Can you name the four other players?
In the last how many years?
20 seasons to record multiple 40-point games with a team they joined mid-season.
Big names.
And they're all shooting guards. They're all shooting guards. I'll give you that hint.
Okay, I'm going to say Jimmy Butler. He didn't actually leave mid-season.
He did.
I thought he always left, actually.
No, he left Minnesota.
No, he has been traded.
Yeah, he was
once.
traded to Minnesota from Minnesota to Philly mid-season. That was a good guess. Jamal Crawford?
Correct. Jamal Crawford in 2008, 2009.
Every scoring question should have Jamal Crawford as an answer.
How about this? James Harden.
Correct. 2020, 2021.
Nice. We're flowing, Raj. That's all I got.
Which other prolific shooting guards that have been traded?
Would you like a hint?
Sure.
No, give me a sec. Give me a sec. Fine, Peter, fine. We'll go for hints.
So this is early 2000s.
Early 2000s shooting. AI?
Correct. Well, this is mid 2000s for him, but 2006, 2007.
The answer. Oof. Shouts to our boy Max.
Isn't AI a point guard?
No.
We've had this argument many times here, man. I'll get back into it if you want.
Eric Snow played point guard for that, not the title team, but the team that went to the finals.
Okay, so two more, right? One more. Oh, Mikal Bridges was it.
One more.
Yeah.
Okay.
My bad.
You got Harden, Jamal Crawford, Allen Iverson, and you got one more.
Monte Ellis.
No.
No.
Yeah, shouts to Monte Ellis. I'm just want to put his name out there. Dwayne Wade?
Nope.
T-Mac?
Nope.
He got traded, I think, at the end of the season.
What era are we looking at here? What time span?
Early 2000s.
Still. Okay. Jalen Rose.
No. Hell no. Hell no. You for real?
Oh man, this is rough, Raj.
This is tough.
Are we looking east or west?
What about Jason Terry?
Oh. If I say that, it's going to give it away.
Oh. Is it Joe Johnson?
Nope. There's at least one person listening to this right now that's like, come on, guys, say the name. How do you not know this? You want a hint?
Sure. Throw it out there.
You watched him more than anybody else growing up, most likely. Both of you.
VC?
There you go.
God.
Vince Carter, 2004, 2005.
I consider him a small forward, but sure.
You're right.
I don't know about that.
No, man. Vince became a small forward when he went to Orlando. At the earliest. Maybe even Dallas. Good try, though. Good try. That was good. I like that.
That was good. It was a bit of a throwback.
Yeah.
I have one more if you'd
Let's
like.
do it.
Let's go for it. Redeem ourselves, Peter.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go for a team-centric stats corner here. As of a couple days ago, can you name the highest catch-and-shoot three-point percentage among teams? And then we'll do the lowest right after that.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How many?
I was reading a text message.
So the highest catch-and-shoot three-point percentage among teams this year so far.
Okay. Am I going to start? Denver?
Yeah, Golden State.
Sure. I guess you're not starting, Peter. And that's a no.
No to...
Surprisingly.
No to what?
They are not in the top 5 of highest catch-and-shoot three-point percentages
Both?
among teams.
Golden State or Denver?
Denver is... I didn't hear you say Denver.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Denver is number 3 at 39.4.
Of course they are. With Nikola Jokic diming you up, you better be top 3. How's about Sacramento?
No, not in top 5.
Best offense ever, apparently. Seems that list
What
happens
about
every year.
Milwaukee?
No.
Brooklyn?
Correct. Still on the list because of KD and Kyrie at 39.1.
It's not because of KD and Kyrie. It's because of Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, boy. And Dorian Finney-Smith. Talk to him.
The missing link.
Spencer Dinwiddie. Return back.
Yeah, Mr. 0 for 10.
I know, that was brutal. Killed my fantasy team. But I love this Brooklyn team, man. I could watch Brooklyn all day. They're so fun to watch.
Yeah, They just play hard.
Yeah, they're a bunch of wing players just hooping. I love it. All right, Raj, get us one here.
Oh man, catch and shoot threes. We said Boston?
You have not, and that is correct. 39.2, number 4. So I believe you have the top 2 teams left.
Oh wow, okay.
Why don't you give me the... No way the Knicks are in this list, are they?
Nope.
No. The Sixers? They shoot a lot of threes.
Correct. Number 1, 40.4%.
Wow, 40%.
Nice.
Wow.
Can't be Memphis. They suck at shooting threes. Phoenix?
Yeah, they're probably bottom of the league.
No way, Phoenix.
There you go. Phoenix is number 2, 39.9.
Wow.
39. Oh, damn.
I'm impressed.
And then quickly, the lowest 3-point shooting teams in terms of catch and shoot.
Okay.
So I'm going to take out Houston and Charlotte. They're by far the worst. The other 3 teams are either play-in teams or a playoff team. So there's 2 that are like on the fringes of playoff / play-in, and the other one's one of the top seeds.
Okay, how about the Miami Heat?
Correct. Number 3 at 33.9% on catch and shoot 3-pointers.
Ooh. Memphis.
Correct. Number 5 at 35%.
Okay, and how about
Luke
the
Kennard's
Raptors?
going to help that, though. Surprisingly, no.
Oh, wow.
I thought they'd be in the list, too.
It's because they don't qualify. They don't take enough catch and shoot.
It's all Fred VanVleet chucking, yeah.
Freddie and Gary chuckers, man.
What about the Indiana Pacers?
No.
No, Buddy Hield's too good of a shooter. How about our beloved Dallas Mavericks with Reggie Bullock shooting threes?
Nope.
Damn.
He's at 38% now, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Really?
Without their threes, they're complete garbage. What about the Atlanta Hawks?
You are correct. Look at you, Raj. 34.8%.
Wow.
Nice. Nice.
And quickly, we'll go rapid fire. You can each name 2. The highest pull-up 3-point percentages among teams in the NBA.
Golden State Warriors.
They are number 4.
Disappointed, Raj. Pull-ups? Let's go Sacramento.
Number 5.
Kevin Huerter, baby.
Well done.
What about Boston Celtics?
Nope.
Portland? Because of Dame? Like single-handedly? No?
Nope.
That was a long shot.
No. What about the 76ers?
Nope.
Oh, the Cavs.
No.
Yes, number 2.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's nice. What about the Nets?
Not on the list.
Oh, I thought Kyrie and Katie would
Oh, the Suns.
keep that up.
Nope.
Oh.
Surprisingly, no.
How many do we need here? How many?
So,
The top
you got
2,
2
I think.
left. One's a top seed in the West, and the other is no longer in the play-in in the East.
Washington? Or
No.
Brooklyn?
Nope.
Oh.
Brooklyn's still in the mix. I'm talking about a team that's in like 11 to 15 range now.
My bad. I misunderstood.
Indiana?
Correct. Number 1, 38.8%.
TJ McConnell. Well, that's mid-range.
TJ McConnell.
Hey, he's been alright from 3 this year, too.
So we're sorry. You said we're looking for a top seed in the West now. Is it the Nuggets? There's no
Correct.
way.
It is the
Wow.
Nuggets, number 3. And just quickly, the lowest pull-up 3-point percentages among teams, San Antonio, 29.4%. Orlando, Lakers, Toronto. So Toronto's missing all their threes off the
told
dribble.
you.
And Charlotte.
Wow. I'm surprised that we waited all the way till the end here, but shouts to Austin Reeves for being a competent player on the Lakers. That's fun. I don't want to get into that storyline, but I just got to mention it from time to time.
He's good.
For the next
He's
podcast.
pretty good.
He's got a bright future in the league. Let's just say that. Good stats corner, Josh. Those are nice. Those been some more like throwbacky questions like that. That was dope. Us old heads.
I'll do my best.
Us old heads.
We struggled though.
Back.
We struggled, man. I don't know if we want more of that.
It's part of the game, man. Can't have it too easy. You gotta fight for it, Raj.
Josh looks like a little fish out of head sticking out of the ocean.
This guy. All right, and on that note, I'm gonna call it here. I want to thank everyone for listening. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Raj, hit up those iTunes reviews, man. Josh, give me those Spotify stars. You can find us on. Let me just name off these social media accounts. I got TikTok, I got Instagram, I got Twitter, and I'm on YouTube. All at Hoops Corner Pod. Look at that. All 4. And on that note, or I don't even remember how I end this. And until next time, peace.